You ever walk into a room and feel the smugness hanging in the air, like heat off pavement? That was the courtroom that day. I was standing there in cuffs, wrists bruised, shoulders sore, and every single cop who put me there was sitting in the back row, laughing, celebrating, like they'd just scored the game-winning touchdown. They thought it was over, thought they'd buried me. But they didn't know who I was, and that was their first mistake. It all started that morning on a college campus. I was invited as a guest lecturer. Legal ethics, of all things. Irony runs deep, huh? I was mid-sentence talking about due process when the doors burst open. Two officers marched straight toward me, like I was some kind of threat. Didn't ask a question. Didn't explain. Just twisted my arms behind my back and cuffed me in front of a room full of stunned students. Phones were out. Cameras flashing. I remember thinking, good. Let them record everything. They didn't even check my ID. Just shoved me into the back of the cruiser. One of them, Dunlap, bald head, too much attitude, kept pushing my head down like I was resisting. I wasn't. I never did. His partner, Torres, pulled out a baggie from his vest, a little plastic pouch with white powder in it, and waved it in front of me like he'd just found treasure. Caught red-handed, he said. I didn't blink, just looked at him and said, that wasn't in my hands a minute ago. He smirked. You sure about that? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Men like them, they bank on silence. They assume if you're quiet, it means guilt. What they don't realize is sometimes silence is strategy. And I had a strategy. I always do. At the station, they ran me through the system like they'd done it 100 times. Mugshot, fingerprints, same routine, different target. But then, something happened. When they finally typed my name into the system, the officer behind the desk froze, like completely froze. His hands hovered above the keyboard, his eyes darted up to me, then the screen. I think we need the captain, he muttered. Dunlap walked over, annoyed. What's the holdup? The guy just looked at him and said, I think you better get him now. A few minutes later, Captain Robert Vance walked in. Tall guy, graying temples, the kind of face that tells you he's seen too much and done too little. One look at me, and his whole expression changed. Oh, hell, he said. And that's when I smiled. Just a little. Just enough. Back in holding, I sat on that cold bench like I was waiting for a flight delay. Calm, legs crossed. Other women in there kept glancing at me, like they could tell I wasn't what I seemed. They were right. Eventually, they brought me to meet my lawyer. Keller, public defender, wrinkled suit, bags under his eyes like he hadn't slept in weeks. First thing out his mouth was talk about cutting a plea deal. I told him they planted the drugs. He looked at me like I was just another case on his docket. Miss Monroe, I understand this is stressful. I'm not stressed, I said. I'm informing you. He sighed, rubbed his temples. If we fight this, it could go to trial, could get messy. I leaned forward and asked, do I look like a drug dealer to you? He didn't answer, just stared. And that's when I knew even he was starting to wonder who the hell I was. Couple hours later, they brought me out again. The energy in the precinct had shifted. No one was laughing anymore. Dunlap and Torres were still back in the break room, though, clinking coffee mugs, grinning like they'd just made quota for the month. Captain Vance called me into his office. He didn't sit. Neither did I. There was a thick folder on his desk with my name on it, or at least, the name they thought I had. He stared at it, then at me. You don't exist in any of our systems, not city, not state. I gave him that same quiet smile. You really should have done your homework. His jaw tightened. You're FBI. Still, I said nothing. Then he leaned in and whispered like the walls had ears. How high up? And I just waited. Let him figure it out himself. His voice cracked when he finally said it. Director? Bingo. That was the moment the whole damn building shifted. He looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. I told him, you have two choices. Call your officers in, or I will. He didn't hesitate. Hit the intercom like it was on fire. Officers Dunlap and Torres report to my office immediately. I stepped out of the way and waited. They walked in, still cocky, still clueless. Torres winked at me. Someone in trouble? I stared him down. Yeah, you. Dunlap tried to keep that smug grin, but when they saw I wasn't cuffed anymore, it cracked. Enjoy it, I told them. Enjoy what? Dunlap asked. I looked him dead in the eye. The last 5 minutes before your career's end. Vance's voice came from behind me. Shut the door. And just like that, it slammed shut. Outside the precinct, a black SUV was waiting. Federal agents. One of them nodded and said, We're here to take you home, Director. Back at headquarters, I was met by the Attorney General and Internal Affairs. They'd already gotten the full picture. Dunlap and Torres had confessed. Prosecutor was suspended. The entire precinct? Under investigation. The AG looked at me and said, You turned a local arrest into a national scandal. I replied, Good. He sighed, You've made powerful enemies. I didn't flinch. If they're my enemies, they were never the right people to begin with. Later that evening, I stood in front of a wall of microphones. Reporters packed the room, lights flashing, questions flying. I adjusted the mic and said, What happened to me wasn't a mistake, it was a pattern. And it's been happening to people for years, people who didn't have the platform I have. Well, I'm here now, and I'm watching. This ends today. Then I walked away. No spin, no hiding. And now I'm here asking you, how many times have you seen something like this play out? Maybe not as dramatic, maybe no courtroom, but you ever been underestimated, silenced, pushed aside because someone assumed you were nothing? Tell me. I want to hear your stories. Because this fight, it's not just mine, it's ours.